Hiya, I'm ThatJaymsWisdom and this is another episode of And Another Thing, and this week I'm going to be talking about one thing, and that's insect bites. Hiya, so welcome to my video. This week I'm going to do a relatively quick one. I'm not going to talk about multiple topics of things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. For the most part, that is just because of the fact that not a great deal has happened. I haven't been keeping up with current affairs and things like that. The one thing that has happened to me though is I got bitten on the leg by a tick. And that has pretty much ruled my life for the last week, and it turns out will be ruling my life for another week at least. So basically, if you don't know, ticks are an insect that you find in like woodland and like long grass and shrubbery and that kind of thing. And what happens is if you walk through that kind of stuff, they can get picked up by your clothes, or they crawl off onto your clothes. They don't jump, they don't fly, they just crawl onto your clothes if you rub against them, basically. And if they get onto your skin, they can bite you. And if they bite you, they don't let go. They're parasites, so they feed off of your blood, basically. And generally speaking, dogs get these on a semi-regular basis. Dogs pick them up from running around in woods and such what. And they they pick up these ticks and they don't bother dogs too much. However, in humans, if you get a bite and you don't get it treated reasonably quickly, it can lead to something called Lyme disease, which can lead to all sorts of things in future, like inflamed joints and inflammatory arthritis and those kinds of things that are not great, basically. So some not good things. And basically, what happened to me is I got out of the shower one day and thought, I better check on that little bump on my leg. I felt like I'd probably banged my leg, had a little feeling of like a bruise or a scrape on my leg. And I got out of the shower and thought, that scrape I noticed yesterday, I should probably check to see if it's a scrape or just a little knock of a bruise. And I looked at it and I'm like, this looked worse than I thought. And then I kind of poked it and I'm like, oh wait, that's not a bit of skin, that's an insect. And I guess I'll flash the picture of the insect up here, so if you don't like that, too late, it's already up there, so whatever. But that insect was just a tiny little thing, bit into my leg. I'm like, don't know what to do about this. So I gave it a quick tug, which is not necessarily a great thing to do, but often, like, if it had been dead or anything like that, and I'd have given it a quick tug, it probably would have just fallen off. But this didn't. It had some purchase, so I didn't try and pull it off, because it's important not to try and pull ticks off, because if you pull them hard and you break them or you split them or you whatever, what happens is basically you pull the body off and leave the head or the little sort of pincery teethy things inside, the mandibles I guess they would probably be, inside your leg, and that can lead to infection and things like that. And that of course can lead to Lyme disease. So I did that, I rang the doctors. So I got through to the doctor eventually after having taken a picture of it and tweeted it across the internet. So if you've been following my Twitter, you've already seen this. But I tweeted about it, and then once I tweeted about it, I got some responses from different people. So someone told me to just leave it alone, it'll probably fall out of its own accord. Terrible advice, don't do that. If you leave it alone and don't get a tick treated, that's what leads to Lyme disease. You want to catch it as early as possible and get rid of it. So I picked, and then someone else said to me exactly that. No, don't leave it alone. Don't do that. It looks like a tick. Do this, do this, do this. Got that advice. Someone actually gave me some really good advice I didn't even think of, and I didn't pick this up until I got back from the doctors, to be honest with you. But to go to a vet, and a vet can remove it for you, because vets deal with these things, these ticks, all the time in animals. So you go to a vet and they'll often remove it for you, apparently. So that's not a bad idea. I don't know whether that's something that's a thing, but it might mean that if you've got a hospital that's further away, or that kind of thing. So I rang the doctors, got through, said I think I had a bite, and I thought it was probably a tick, but I wasn't sure. I pulled it wouldn't come out, etc, etc, etc. Lady on the phone, she tried to book me in with the doctor, or she booked me in with the doctor, and then she spoke to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, they can't really do anything if it is a tick bite, because they don't have the facilities there, and they just send me to the hospital. So she rang me back and said, go to the hospital. And so I went to the hospital, and I was in and out really, really quickly. I got there, said, I've got a tick, I think, in my leg. And she said, what leg? And then wrote down right leg, ? Tick. And that was all that was written on the bit of paper. Handed it to another lady. then I sat down, and before I'd had time to write a text message, I'd been called in, and I was having someone try and tweezer a tick out of my leg. And they managed to get it out. It took a bit of coaxing. What they did is they used this little thing that looked like a taser to burn it, to sort of kill it first, so that it didn't sort of grip harder when they tried to pull it out or anything like that, I think is the idea. So they burn it really quickly, so it's dead instantly, and it doesn't realise that it's been, being attacked, and so it doesn't do anything about it. And then they managed to tweezer it out. Unfortunately, they didn't get it all out in one go, so they had to pull it out in bits, which is a shame. And then they got it out. It was great. And then I was given antibiotics for a week, and told to look out for a target-shaped rash or that kind of thing. So I put a picture of what I've seen on the website up here, as for the target-shaped rash. And I didn't have that at all. It didn't really feel like anything at all. It was absolutely fine. It was no bother to me. I was taking my antibiotics. The antibiotics I take 3 times a day with food every day for a week. And that was a pain, because I don't usually eat breakfast, but I had to kind of have something for breakfast. And then, of course, spread my day out to make sure I had my meals at these really regular intervals throughout the day, or as regular as I could get them. So I wasn't having 2 antibiotics really close together. I had those, and I was down on Friday, so I finished that on Friday, and I was like, yes, great, that's good. I don't need to take antibiotics anymore. And then I went out on Saturday all day, and I came back, and my leg kind of ached a little bit, and it got really red during the day, and it looked kind of like a really dark bruise around it, and then a red around that, which is not quite the same as the rash that they said to look out for. So the target rash that I put up on screen here, doesn't look quite like what my leg looks like now, which is like this. I'll put up this side. There you go. Got lots of pictures today. But I thought, well, that doesn't look good. It kind of hurts a little bit, like it's tender. So I thought I'd better go back to the doctors. I went back to the hospital today, and apparently I've got an infection. So now I've got an infected bite on my leg. It's not Lyme disease as far as they can tell. It doesn't look like Lyme disease. It's just like a run-of-the-mill infection. But it means I've got to have more antibiotics for another week. And yeah, that's my story. That was basically my week. It's been sort of that and going into uni and doing PhD work, really. That's my main thing. I mean, I did go to London on Saturday, and I went to this really cool board game shop that I didn't know existed, and bought some cool bits and pieces. So, I mean, there's some more stuff that I did this week. I got a game called Kumo. Yeah, anyway, it's called Kumo, and it's got a secondary name as well, but I call it Kumo because that's what it looks like. And that looks like a really cool game, and it's really, really fancy, a pretty box. But other than that, it's been all about this tick bite. So yeah, that's my week. That's my last kind of 2 weeks, really. This tick bite is the main thing. Now, I'm fairly certain I got this tick bite off of a dog. I think I knocked a tick off of a dog, so I think basically what happened is I was sitting on a bench, doing a raid actually for a Pokemon gym, and there were some other people doing the same raid, and they had this big husky, and it came over, and I gave it a quick rub on the head, and they seemed to be okay with me giving the dog a fuss, so I gave the dog a scratch under the chin and such what, and I reckon I knocked a tick off of its fur onto my trouser leg, and then later on knocked that onto my shin, and then I got a tick bite. So that was a bit of a nuisance, been a pain. Hopefully it'll all be okay, and I won't have to worry too much about this infection. But yeah, that's been my week. There you go. Not much more to talk about. Keep smiling. Thank you very kindly, and I will see you all next time for A Naked Truth. And yeah, have a good week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of And Another Thing. It's a bit different again. I'm mixing with the format anyway here. This is a little bit more the style of A Naked Truth, where I've just kind of spieled off a bunch of stuff about one particular topic. I throw that little bit of board game infos in there at the end for you as well. If you liked this, check out previous videos below.